You say if I told you that a few months ago I got my first custom order? Some emails are exciting. Some are dangerous. And a scarce few are the combination. Hey everyone, I'm Mindy Grace. This is my channel, Girl of a Different Era. And today we are going to be tackling the first part of my custom order dress series. So this is really exciting, and I'm glad you guys are here to join me. And it's kind of crazy, and there's lots of what ifs involved. But I'm hoping that as I learn, you'll be able to learn a little bit alongside me. And yeah. Warning you guys, I am not an expert on this subject. I do not know if I'm necessarily doing things scientifically, sewing rules. And this is not a historically accurate dress. It's whatsoever. I'm using 100% polyester fabric for my main dress material. So just getting that right out in the open here. I'm calling it inspired because I'm using Civil Era pattern. It's going to kind of feel like that. Okay then, with no further ado, we are going to get into the first video, which is making the mock-up of the bodice, which I'm going to eventually turn into the pattern. And what I am doing right here is just extending the pattern 3 inches longer, because it said that's the extension line, and my client's torso is 3 inches longer than the pattern gives for her size. Next, I'm obviously just cutting it out. It's pretty self-explanatory. Again, you know, remembering to cut around those lines that I drew to give that 3 extra inches like I'm going to need. And now after I've cut it out, I just sort of cut the end that I drew on as a box, and now I'm just sort of following the line of the pattern and just extending that same sort of curve onto my extra, so it's not going to be like weird and boxy or something. So that took a little bit of time, but you know, I figure that's sort of what you do when you lengthen a pattern. And now I am just, what I'm doing to hold my pieces together is I'm just basting them. I mean, I know I'm going to be doing a lot of resituating and resewing, so why not baste? It'll save on thread and time, and maybe even a little bit of frustration. So, of course, you got to pin them first. What I'm doing, I'm really just following the pattern instructions here, and just starting out by pinning them into place. Nothing's even sewn yet. This is just pinned to my dress form. And I feel like the back currently looks a little better than the front. I mean, it's all really weebly, of course, because nothing's sewn. I'm just trying to put it up on the front. Extra in the front. That will be part of what I'm doing, will be, you know, figuring out how to get this access so it's actually going to fit. My guinea pig Moochie was having an extreme Winnie the Pooh and the honey jar moment. Back to the machine. Again, I told you what I was doing, and now I'm just continuing to baste those down after I pin them up onto my form to see what they look like. So I'm just going along, and there's a lot of seams to do, but you know, just going along and basting all of them. Resting on the waistline, just resting like on the hip, because my client's torso is 3 inches taller than my dress form can adjust to. And I tried pinning this up, but it adds extra tension since this is also shaped. I'm just trying to see if it all fits is what I'm doing, and it's not showing me with this being so low. So what I think I'm going to do, since I did basting stitches, I'm just going to 3 inches up, I'm just going to rip out the stitches and then put it up so I can still measure this and know, does this fit and what else do I have to work on. And now I am marking 3 inches from the bottom and just stitch ripping those basting stitches to that point and just pinning that extra 3 inches up onto the bodice because I need to see how this is going to fit and my dress form cannot adjust to the height that's necessary. So I'm just pinning those up to see. I'm going to be working on the top part. Is going to be to get the top part fitted better. We've got, according to her measurements, yeah, we've got like 3 inches too much on the top of our dress, okay? So 3 inches too much, and first I was going to alter the pattern when I was cutting it out, but I thought I'm just going to make it and try it on my dress form and just see what it wants, you know, see what it does. First thing I'm going to work on is right here. You can see this just gets really hugely huge, and I'm going to be very careful because I don't want to make this armpit hole smaller, but I kind of want to make this smaller. If that makes any sense, I may or may not do that, but I want to take in this seam, okay? So I'm just going to pop a pin here. And just see what this does. I'm going to go to this side. And then to the center front, I think I'll take some off this. I'm not even positive if I'm going to stick with that idea, but that's pretty much what I'm doing here. I'm not going to be able to show you the entire process because I'm still learning. This is the first time I've done something like this. But I'm just going around and I'm trying different areas to take in stuff. And I want to just measure out to make sure I'm only taking 3 inches. So I really think I'm going to be taking in this seam. Possibly this seam. But I might try to leave that one because it's very nicely curved. That's why I don't want to see with the seams. We've got to be careful because if you just take one seam and cinch it down like 3 inches, you're going to totally have these lines like this. That would just look really weird. Or if you try to take it in the armpit. So it's just so many things. I'm just going to have to go take it off in little areas. So we'll all... And now, like I said, I am just going through there and just trying out a few ideas. I think right now I was trying out the measuring certain amounts from each area. I ended up, as you will see later, just pretty much fixing that very front seam. But as far as the shoulders goes, I really began to take in a lot from there, and that's actually how I ended up doing it most of the way. I was just taking in a lot from the shoulder seams, and I feel like that worked. Now, I'm not taking in it from everywhere, I'm really just doing it from the top, so in a way you could call it kind of like a dart, but in a way it's sort of altering the shape of the pattern piece. Get somewhere, but what I've done a few things. I just sort of stitched a dart right down here, but I took that out. What I think I'm going to do here is just, there's this weird bulge. I'm just going to stitch this so it's all one level piece because we've already got these creases. What I've ended up doing is sewing this seam, side seam, closer, and you're like probably freaking out because you're like, this is getting smaller. I'm going to cut that hole bigger, but I'm not done like shortening the sleeve thing, I mean the side seam, so I've done nothing with the back. I probably will do nothing with that. So I've just got a little bit of slack to eat up. So far I've done in 3/4 inches, sort of a 3/4 inch dart sort of here. I mean, I'm sort of changing the shape of the fabric. And then I've got to probably just level this out. I don't want to play fiddle too much with the front because it places as boning, and I do not want the boning channels to look majorly weird or something. So that's my update now. I'm really hoping to get that done so I can just kind of get a little break. Okay, now at this point I am just opening up that armhole seam bigger. So I'm just measuring, I believe it's a ½ inch that I'm measuring all around there and marking that with a Sharpie. The only problem with this is it might make the armhole just a little bit too big at the bottom, which I might have to fix later, but we'll worry about that as we go. Actually reached the point where I think I'm done altering this to fit, so that's good. I took this in here a little bit. It was lumping out like I showed you. I just made it more even everywhere. And I just took in a mess from both sides. I need this more because the waist is still this much more. So this is sort of going to be over her rib cage, so I think I'll leave it. Yeah, I've just got that pinned in the back. I had to cut the sleeve holes open more once you keep pulling this in. I don't really want them to dip that far down, so we have to fix that later, but for the moment this is good. I'm going to end up taking it apart if I'm happy with it, and then just using these as my pattern pieces. And now I am just stitch ripping out the seams that I didn't do any altering to, and I'm actually not angry. This is actually happy stitch ripping for once in the life of history, right? And now when I get to the seams that I have done any sort of extra stitching in, I'm measuring 5 inches away from my final stitching line and just marking that with a pen. And then I'm going to be cutting that out, so I won't have to worry about adding the seam allowance, but I'm still cutting that out. Which is just what you can see me marking that. So really it's altering the piece and giving it a different sort of shape. And now I'm just coming along with the scissors and clipping that line that I marked, which can be a scary feeling. So I was really excited to find out the next morning that when I matched up the corresponding pieces, that, you know, in your pattern you've just got one of them and you cut out 2, but I was concerned that they would not quite match up since they were different sides and I wasn't being like geometrically precise with what I'm doing. I literally laid them against each other and they matched up perfectly, which is just super duper exciting, and I was just felt very, very blessed at this point. This is really exciting, what I was hoping my mock-up would turn out to be, and so I'm super glad I persevered. And I'm just going to use these as my 4 bodice pattern pieces. I do have other pieces for like the Bertha collar sort of and like other things. But I really just wanted the bodice pattern because that's really the only one that's going to be relative to a size. So yeah, that's really exciting. So I guess that's kind of the purpose of my mock-up this time. And I know not everyone does mock-ups like this, but I'm excited. And I'm just going to go to cutting those out, which you guys will all get to see in our next video. Thanks for staying tuned. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and if you'd enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let me know any questions you've got in the comments below. I love to hear from you all. And stay tuned for our next segments in this series, which are hopefully going to be a lot better edited and stuff. But anyways, thank you guys so much, and happy sewing!